All right, and we are live. So last week, stocks had another winning week, but today it seems that the streak ends. Earnings season is heating up. Stocks are slipping a little bit. We have news from Boeing that we will talk about, and we'll also see what's in store for the week ahead. So, lots to talk about. And with that said, welcome to Coffee with Markus and Mark. And today is Monday, October 21st. And in this show, we're going to talk to you about what's happening in the markets and how we are trading it. And I mean, Mark, what's happening in the markets? Looking at a weekly chart, it is just up, up, and away, isn't it?
Look at that. Look at that. Yeah. And last week, it really didn't feel like we were off to making new records because a lot of it came on Monday, and then there was a little bit of follow through towards the end of the week. It felt like it was pretty choppy, but we still finished the week positive in a nice way.
Yes. ATH, all-time highs in the S&P 500, all-time highs in the Dow last week. Not, though, for the NASDAQ. I mean, I think the NASDAQ is still a little bit below the all-time highs, right? Yep. Still not
Just a
have made...
tiny bit.
Yeah. And the same for IWM, the Russell 2000 also not yet being able to make new all-time highs, but the Dow and the S&P definitely.
So, not to look at the cup half fulleth. I do think we have to look at the Nasdaq weekly because although most of the focus when it comes to record highs is on a daily basis, the Nasdaq did close at an all-time weekly high. We've had an intraday high that's higher and a daily high that was closer, but technically speaking, a new weekly high for the Nasdaq.
Well, there you go. Okay.
That was the most unenthusiastic response to a record high that I've ever heard, Marcus.
I know. I know. Well, because I mean, we're getting used to it. I don't even know how many record highs we had this year. It just record high, record high, record high, broken record, record high, and there we go, right? And I mean, also last week in focus, crude oil, and crude oil jumping a little bit all over the place. Last week, crude oil had a really, really bad week. I mean, last week, crude oil was down 9%.
Yeah, just a huge move lower in crude oil. We talked about it. Part of it is OPEC forecasting being lowered, and then the response from Israel to Iran's attack being muted, or at least not attacking the oil fields, and so the geopolitical tensions seem to have been relieved a little bit. And so that just combining to a bigger drop. Today, crude oil was above 70 a barrel briefly and up nicely, but now just up 1% right now.
Yeah. And I mean, just looking at the week of what's happening this week on the economic calendar, this week, I mean, there's not a whole lot going on the economic calendar. We have a bunch of Fed members speaking this morning, also already FOMC member Logan speaking this afternoon. A few more Fed members tomorrow. One Fed member. Then we have another one. Two on Wednesday. 1, 2 here. So, I mean, it just Fed member week. Other than this, the only red flag report is coming on Thursday with the weekly unemployment claims and the flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI.
Yeah, and I mean, really, it's still all about earnings season. I know that we have a few Fed members speaking. This morning, we had Fed member Lori Logan speaking. There you go, and she said, "quote If the economy evolves as I currently expect, the strategy of gradually lowering the policy rate toward a more normal or neutral level can help manage the risks and achieve our goals." I just cutting to the chase. Yes, they're ready to lower rates, right?
Yes. And I mean, we already heard it last week. It won't be the jumbo cuts anymore. And we kind of already knew that, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
markets have already priced in the high probability for a 0.25% cut. This morning, after more remarks on Friday, and this morning also from a Fed member, the probability for no rate cuts has increased a little bit to almost 12%. But I mean, we are only 17 days away unless we see some significantly different data than we have seen over the past few weeks and months. I mean, I think the 0.25% cut is going to happen.
Yeah, that would be my bet, and honestly, that's exactly what the markets and traders are betting on too.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you mentioned it. I mean, earnings season is heating up. So this week, we have 109 stocks reporting earnings that are in the indices, mainly the S&P 500. Today, a rather quiet day, but it will heat up tomorrow before the bell. Verizon, Philip Morris, GE Aerospace, Danaher Group, and then we have on Wednesday, Coca-Cola, AT&T, NextEra Energy. We have Tesla after the bell. So definitely a little bit more excitement this week when it comes to earnings.
Sure. So 14% of the S&P 500 have reported earnings this season, and approximately 79% of them have beat expectations. This was based on Friday. Now this week we have about 1/5 of the S&P 500 reporting. So this is going to be a busy week. Next week's going to be a busy week, and when we combine that with the economic calendar, it's very clear that the focus will be on earnings this week.
Yeah, as said, another 20% reporting this week. So by the end of the week, we will be at around 34%. So a third of the S&P 500 will have reported earnings by the end of the week. And so far, I mean, 79%, that's pretty normal, right? I mean, we usually see
Yeah.
around 80% of companies beat earnings, which, I mean, we have seen this quarter after quarter for years to come. So this is where analysts are always a little bit more pessimistic, and this is not an indication like, way, everything is fantastic. I mean, around 80% earnings beat is kind of normal. If we would drop down to a 60 or 50%, that would be bad. And if we go up to a 90 to 100, that would be like, yippee-yay.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, overall, I mean, it's a normal trading week for us. However, if you look at WTFs, I mean, with trading at all-time highs, there is no fear to win, which WTF stands for win the fear. So we still have our Tesla trade as the only trade that we have right now in the WTF portfolio. So Tesla, we entered at 220, right now trading at 218. So just diddling along here. And I mean, do you expect a major move before earnings on Wednesday after the bell?
I don't. But today Tesla all over the place. I mean, down 2.25%. Almost filled that gap and was down just a tenth of a percent. Right now, down just over 1%. So it does look like traders are getting a little excited here, trying to figure out what to do before that earnings release.
Yeah, if you look at the low of 215 and the high of 220, that's $5. That's a 2.5% move for Tesla today on absolutely no earnings.
Yeah,
No news.
yeah.
No news. Yeah. All right.
Marcus, I don't mean to get off track here, but this week it could be a push for the biggest company and who's gonna win, because Nvidia and Apple on the move, and Nvidia in particular up today. Oh, look at that! Actually, I thought I didn't realize Apple was up as
No, no, no.
much. I
Sorry, I
thought,
didn't refresh. There we go. These are the
okay,
current ones. Yep.
there we go. That's what I saw. So Nvidia still has a little ground to cover to overtake Apple, but this might be fun to watch this week.
This will be a neck to neck race. So, will Nvidia be able to overtake Apple as the largest American company by market capitalization? I mean, only what is that? Like 150 billion? 150 million is separating these
Which
two,
is nothing for
which is
them.
nothing for them. Nothing. So yeah, you're right. This will be fun to watch. So yeah, looking at the heat map today, I mean, we see the heat map overall stocks are pulling back and Nvidia
Yeah,
just standing out. I mean, not even the other chips, I mean, you see Qualcomm down 2.6% today, AMD down 1% today, uh, Broadcom down 0.5%. It's just the excitement around Nvidia. And I mean, Nvidia, to be honest, I mean, they're not reporting earnings in a while. I mean, they're pretty late in their earnings, right? So we have
They
another
are.
month, November 19th. This is when they report earnings. But boy, yep, all-time highs for Nvidia on their way today.
Yep, and Apple reports on the 31st after the bell. So, Apple earnings on the horizon. But that I think that heat map there tells you exactly what's going on today, though. Very, very little green and a decent amount of red.
Yeah, for sure. All right, hopping over to our wheel positions. First off, we have CSIQ, and CSIQ hanging in there, finding some support at the 12 level. It seems that today down 1.5%. Friday, we closed higher, 2.3%. Today, down 1.5%. So let's see, nothing for us to do here right now. Let's start with BP. BP, a position that you're in. And this morning, BP, a little bit all over the place. First of all, gapping higher right now, pulling back a little bit, still up for the day.
Yeah, yeah. I would like it to have been higher, but I'll take the win.
Yeah. And then we have the other crude and or the other oil and gas stock, HAL. So Halliburton, well, also today, oh my gosh, I mean, Halliburton finished lower on Friday, also lower today. It really seems that it was first wants to complete the chart pattern that we saw on BP before moving higher.
Yeah, and I did see that your friend Schlumberger reported earnings on Friday with slightly worse than expected results, and so it was interesting Friday to see BP hanging in there, but then Halliburton down a bit on Friday. And at first, I was trying to figure out why there was such a disconnect because there is a correlation there, but
Right.
that explains it. Schlumberger, very similar in the that area there.
Schlumberger. Okay. Coles a little bit all over the place. And Coles on Friday had a great day, moving up towards 21. I was able to sell calls against my existing position, half of the existing position at 21.50 for 30 cents. Pocketed, let's see, a little bit just shy of $1,500, $1,410 in premium. And today, Coles has not yet decided what it wants to do. If you're looking here, at a three at the daily chart, it opened higher, pushed massively lower. I mean, at some point, I think it was down 2%, and right now down 0.25%. So pushing up at 20.75. So we'll see where we end at the end of the week. But I'm liking this move here, and I like to collect more premium.
Yeah, you've played this one very nicely, Marcus.
Yeah. Merck, on the other hand, come on, little buddy. I mean, now it's time to move around. I mean, it seemed that Merck has found some support at 108. Today, breaking it to the downside, right now trading at 107.56. So come on, it's time to move back towards my break even. Let's see if it finds some more support today at the 108 level, because what we see here is intraday bars, but we also want to look here at a line chart, and this is where at the line chart we did find support. So we'll see if today we can bounce back above the 108. A few more hours to go, Mark. You can do this. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then UPS. Seriously,
UPS. Ugh,
Barclays raining on our parade here. We had this beautiful trend channel that we had established
I
here where
know.
UPS was moving just gorgeously along this trend channel. And then this morning, Barclays comes out and downgrades UPS. Like, seriously, Barclays?
And so I looked into this a little bit, and I'm really hoping that UPS earnings could come out and just say, give the finger to Barclays, and we get a rally there. That's on the 24th. But looking into this, the analyst at Barclays did not change his target, but there was a downgrade. And really, there were two things that were brought up. Well, actually, three things. One is that Amazon poses a threat to UPS, which you should already know, right?
What's new? Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that isn't necessarily new news. And then he did add that UPS increased its dividend during the pandemic, and he sees limited ability for dividend growth in the next few years. So, again, I don't think that that's necessarily a huge surprise. And it's not even saying that they can't increase their dividend or keep it the same, just that maybe it won't be increased at the same pace. And again, so that's forward looking, maybe 2-3 years down the road, that's an issue, but not right now. And then also there was some concern about the contracted work rules and potential productivity of UPS compared to its rivals. And this is where we know that UPS employees and the unions were able to negotiate a pretty good deal. That actually is what drove UPS lower after I initially got into it. I thought that a lot of that was already priced in. I was wrong about that. And that's why we ended up trading in a different range. But again, I think that that's already known, right? So it seems to me like this is a little more of an overreaction at this point, since I don't think that the analysts highlighted anything that wasn't already out there. But whenever there's a downgrade, it could pick up some activity. And then I'm hoping that earnings just change the course here.
Yeah. Earnings in 3 days after the bell. So we will see what happens then. And we'll definitely keep a very close eye on this one. All right. Well, before we look at the S&P, because there is a surprise happening right now in the markets. And before we go back to this, let's quickly go to our dad jokes. What do you have for us today?
Well, Marcus, I was remodeling the bathroom, and my contractor, he said, hey, at your age, I really suggest putting a bar in the bathroom, or in the shower, excuse me. And I got all excited and thought I could add a little Jack Daniels to that bar. He said, no, wrong bar. I'm talking about the one you hold on to so you don't fall over. So I'm getting a little bit old. I know that wasn't a true dad joke. It was more of a dad story. But yeah, at this age, not the type of bar that we want in the bathroom.
All right, dude. I think I'm going to beat you today.
You are, Marcus, hands down. Like, I could just hand it to you right now, because there was a shift in the force right there that I went with, and I'm giving it to you. I'm handing it over to you. Go.
All right. I have a quick one. What do you call a pig that practices karate?
What?
Pork chop. It's a pork
That's
chop.
good. I'm giving it to you on a huge default, and thank you for the joke.
All right. Now look at this at a 5-minute chart of the S&P 500. Right now we see a slide. I mean, into the open, we were diddling along. Right now, a slide to the downside. And for absolutely no reason, I haven't seen any news that is causing it. But right now, we see the Dow is trading at session lows, down 0.8%. The S&P is trading at session lows, down 0.6%. The Nasdaq is trading at session lows, down 0.5%. And the IWM, the small cap, Russell 2000 here, down 1.6%, trading at session lows, while the VIX just started spiking and right now attacking the 20 level again. We're up 6.7% for the day, still trading below 20, but wow, what a move here in the last few minutes. What do you think about this?
Pretty decent dip, and we'll see if it continues or if there's a bit of a pause. But it starts to be a bigger drop today, 0.6% for the Dow or S&P. And Boeing was helping the Dow early on, but right now Dow leading the way lower.
Yeah. So Well, we'll see what happens today. And again, earnings season is kicking into high gear. A fifth of 20% of the S&P 500 companies reporting earnings, so you don't want to miss it. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, hit the little notification bell. This way, you get notified when we go live. And if you like today's story, so give us a like after the show. Leave a comment how lame Mark's dad joke was today. And with that said, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Happy trading, everybody.